and welcome to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 183, and today's date is October 8th, 2013. And the title of this episode is Many False Flag Drills in a 6-Week Period. Coincidence? And again, those people who have been listening to me, I do not believe in coincidences. I believe these are all plans laid out, and they are purposely made for people to think that this just happened. But these are not coincidences. These are things that are planned out by the central bankers and by the U.S. government to get what they want. And most of the times, it is used to get us into war, to get bills passed, and many other things. And we can see this next false flag, which I don't believe it's going to be one. I think it's going to be multiple ones, all combined in the same time period. Just like we saw 9/11, we saw the planes fly into the World Trade Center in the Pentagon. There was another one heading for building, I think, 7, but it was shot down in Pennsylvania. And there were supposed to be many other things going on at the same time. Here, I do believe we are going to witness the same exact thing. And these are going to take many different forms. They are going to be most likely chemical, nuclear, and cyber all at the same time. And I went into discussion yesterday and in my many other reports about what I believe is going to happen. And there are so many different drills going on in such a short period of time. It just seems like it's just way too many things happening at once. And now that we see there are many protests that are going to happen on D.C., we see the propaganda of the shutdown, because as we all know, as I've been doing this report, every day I report how the economy has been declining. And if you notice now, most of the news out there is that they are saying how the economy is not doing well, and as long as the government continues with this, the economy will get worse, and we are seeing this all over the place. And before I start the economic collapse news today, I just want to thank all the new people who've subscribed on YouTube. We've hit 10,000 subscribers now on YouTube, and we are getting more and more people coming every single day, and I say welcome. And those people who are on YouTube, you can come over to the x22report.com site. I do put the audio up way before I upload it to YouTube, and it's not because, I want it on the site first. It takes me a while to create the video, compile all the information, and then, as everyone knows, you have to upload it to YouTube, and sometimes it uploads faster and processes faster, and sometimes you're put behind a waiting list and you have to wait, and that is really the only reason. And I do have other things on the site, and I track the economic collapse. There's a timeline there, and I keep updating that. I have things for inflation, deflation, showing different products as they move up and down during this time period. I have documents. I also, under resources, I have different prep material that I have purchased myself, and there's many other things. And also, I do put Sentinel alerts on the site every day, and I do comment on them. And I just want to thank all those people who also donate. I do not have sponsors or things like this. I do this out of my free time here, and I feel this is my duty to do this and to get the word out there and show people there is a different side than what you are hearing on the corporate media and from the government officials. And this is why I'm doing it. And let's get started with the news. We see that Lucent is going to cut 10,000 jobs around the world in the next 2 years. And of course, we're seeing this in many companies. They're starting to lay off. And recently, I just told you about my brother-in-law. He lives up in the Manhattan area, and he works for UBS. And he already received notice that in November, himself and others are going to be laid off. And then I saw that UBS is laying off something like 10,000 people, and it started early this year. And we see that they are doing this. And many of the banks are laying off. Wells Fargo, Citibank, Bank of America, laying off from all of their mortgage areas. And we are seeing now that they're reporting that the bank earnings coming out for this third quarter, fourth quarter time period is not going to be what everyone expects it to be. It's going to be a lot lower. And what they're saying is that there's been a slowdown in commercial, industrial, and mortgage lending. Trading has been bad. Investment banking not so good, and margins are under serious pressure. And we do understand the banks are not making any money at this point. They are insolvent. The only money that they are receiving is from the Fed at this point. And we do understand that Bank of America and a lot of the other banks are selling off branches to raise cash at this point, and they understand what is coming, and they are trying to prep themselves for what is coming. And we see the IMF is out there letting everyone know that it's cutting its global forecast, warns of a prolonged stupor. It sees that the U.S. default will be unlikely, and but having the government shut down right now is having and will have an effect going forward, that it will make the economy weaker. And they go on here to say that the U.S. government shutdown, which is currently in its second week, would have limited consequences as long as it's not prolonged and doesn't go longer than it is. And we can see right now with Obama, Congress, the senators, Obama is playing hardball with them. He's not giving in because they want this to go as long as possible. The longer it goes, the better their case is to show that this is the reason why the economy is starting to decline right now. And they are removing the blame off of the Fed and putting the focus on the government. But don't worry, the focus on the government won't be there that long. Yes, they are talking about a decline in the economy, but the collapse will be from the event that we will see coming up, and I cannot believe it will not happen by the end of this year. There are just too many things. I'd be shocked if it doesn't. And, maybe it would happen in January, but from what we see right now, it really does seem like it's all pointing in that direction. And we see many things happening over in the Middle East, with North Korea now, and we see it all building up. Now, there is a report that the U.S. consumer delinquencies are on the rise. People are delinquent on their loans, and we're seeing a decline on this. And we're seeing a decline on a lot of things. We're seeing a decline on mortgage applications. We're seeing a decline in home sales, retail sales, unemployment. They're saying it's declining, but as we know, they changed the calculation, and unemployment is rising. And the reason for this is that right now, people just don't have the money to make the payments. When you are underemployed or unemployed and you're receiving your unemployment benefits, it is just not enough to make good on whatever credit card payments you have, mortgage payments. And we do understand in the vampire realm of real estate here, there are so many foreclosures that the banks aren't revealing, because if they did reveal it, housing would plummet and it would implode on itself. So what the Fed is doing, it is going ahead and purchasing all this real estate from the banks, and the banks are instructed to take this money and put it into the stock market to pump it up and make it go as high as possible. So everyone has to go look at the stock market to let them believe that the economy is doing well, and this was their plan. And the Fed has not stopped purchasing the amount of foreclosures and toxic real estate, and they will not stop. Actually, they want to increase QE, not taper, because they realize how bad this situation is. And from people now that are delinquent on bank card payments, loan payments, car payments, we can really see this taking hold now, and we are seeing that we are in a complete decline of the economy, and there is a complete disconnect between what is happening on Wall Street in the stock market and what everyone else is feeling in the economy. And we are seeing major, major layoffs right now. And Meredith Whitney, who a couple reports ago, I've mentioned it many times, has said that Wall Street will be laying off hundreds of thousands of people come this fall, winter. They are reducing the number of people that are working. And what's funny is that I do know someone who heads up a consulting firm, and most of the jobs that are being offered in the Wall Street area are consulting gigs. They are not full-time positions. And what normally happens in a company is they get rid of all the consultants first. So most of the jobs that were created in Wall Street are not full-time jobs. They are consulting jobs. And we are going to see a huge decline in the number of people employed in this area. And just from personal experience, when I was talking to my brother-in-law, he had to let go, I don't know, something like 40 people from his division. He is a manager, but he also got the notice that his job is coming to an end in November. So, and most of the people he said that he hired were consultants in those positions. Now, APEC is also issuing a timely warning, saying that the global economy will slow down. And we know this. If we look across Europe and we see the stats, we see the unemployment, we see that Greece, Cyprus, Portugal, Spain, France all have double-digit unemployment. They have huge amount of debt. They need rescue loans. They need bailouts. They're doing bail-ins. They're stealing from the pensions. And we can see why this is happening. It is happening here in the U.S. Right now, the government is tapping into the pensions to keep the government running at this point. And this is what Treasury Secretary Jack Lew, when he says extraordinary measures, he's talking about pensions that he's tapping into to pay for the government needs at this point. And we can see from everything that we see and everything that I've been reporting about retail, about home sales, all in a decline. The real unemployment here in America, the only things that don't correspond to this are Wall Street, the stock market, and what the government officials are telling us, and the Fed. And we've seen this before in 2007, 2008, when they told us everything was fine, and guess what happened in the same year they were telling us? Everything collapsed. The same thing happened during the Great Depression. The president was out there saying that they're making a recovery, everything is great, and in 1932, the market fell again, worse than in 29, and the entire thing, the whole depression boom was there, and they always tell you the opposite of what is really going on. And this goes on to say that the global growth is too weak, risks remain tilted to the downside, global trade is weakening, and the economic outlook suggests growth is likely to be slower and less balanced than desired. And this was a report from the 21 member of the Asian Pacific Economic Cooperation. And what they're saying is now, since the U.S. and all the European nations are in a decline, the outlook for developing countries, growth has also been lowered in these countries also. And this is we believe this has been basically been caused by a piled up global imbalance. And what they're saying here, the latest drag on the global economy emerged when the U.S. partially shut down its government after failing to agree agree for the spending bill for the next fiscal year. And you can see how they're painting this picture. They are putting it all together, making it seem like this is the reason why the economy is now failing. It's funny, just a month ago they were telling us housing is rebounding, the market's going up, Europe is completely coming out of the recession. Greece looks fantastic. Cyprus, incredible. The president of France was out there, and now they're all talking that everything is falling apart just because the government shut down for these couple of days. So you can see what picture they're trying to paint right now. And of course, then we have Goldman Sachs out there. And you know what they did last time, and everything they do is completely always the opposite. Back in 2006, 2007, 2008, when they were selling those subprime securities, they were betting against those because they knew they were all toxic. And when they went and they told everyone they were going bearish on gold, this was back in April when gold dropped like $200 or so, they were buying it like there's no tomorrow. Now they're telling their clients at this point that gold is a slam dunk sell for next year because the U.S. economy will extend its recovery after lawmakers resolve stalemates over the nation's budget and debt ceiling. So start selling your gold. Things are going to be okay. The recovery is going to be extended. And you know what they're going to do? Every person that sells their gold, they are going to purchase it because they understand what is really coming. And they've done this in the past, and they're continually doing it. They are not for their clients. They are not for the people. They are for themselves. Now, I spoke about this before about Common Core, and there was another article here about sixth graders asked to revise outdated Bill of Rights. Last time we saw it, they've changed the Bill of Rights in some textbooks. And now what they're asking sixth grade students to do, and this is in the Bryan School District in Arkansas, they were asked to throw out 2 amendments in the Bill of Rights as part of the Common Core history class assignment, and they were asking the students to explain which ones we don't need anymore and prioritize and revise the Bill of Rights. And without explaining that to get rid of or to add one of these rights, all the states have to vote on it, and it has to be ratified to place or remove any of these types of amendments in the Constitution. And another Common Core assignment told children that police were legally allowed to confiscate firearms even if the owner had a legal permit. And people say, like, why would they be doing this now? It doesn't make sense. We're at the end game here, and the collapse is coming. No. They believe that they're going to reset the system, and what they're going to do, and they're putting this in place now because they believe they are going to still be in power. They are controlling the natural resources all across the Middle East, and they want to reset the system and start it all over again, except for one thing. They want to get rid of the Constitution. And what they're going to do through Common Core and many other things, through the UN Arms Treaty, through the Gun Bill, through CISPA, is take complete control of the people. This is their plan. This is why they're doing this. This is why they have Project Sentry. Project Sentry is a seminar which is visiting every school in the United States, showing kids how bad guns are. You don't want a gun. You don't need a gun. Guns kill people, period. Guns are only for gangs. Gangs are bad. And this is how they're promoting this. The Second Amendment, they already rewrote, and they're showing the kids the rewritten Second Amendment that you have the right to bear arms only in a militia. And they are putting this all together to completely brainwash and train everyone in a different way of thinking. So everything will be lost. And they've done this before in 1913 when the central bankers took control. They have removed from the education system everything that has to do with the creation of money. And all that was completely stricken from all the books and everything like that. And what they're doing is they're continuing with this, and they understand the collapse is coming right now, and they understand from this point forward they will be brainwashing the future, and they will be obedient. They will have no idea what the Constitution and everything else really stands for, and they will not understand that they have these rights, and this is what they've been doing. And if we take this even further, we have Obamacare, where they put everyone under control with a federal health insurance plan where everyone can be controlled and told what to do, what medicines you receive, what care you receive. You're put on a computer database so you can be tracked. In Obamacare, they're allowed to inspect your homes, and there are many other things. And again, they are having many, many technical problems. They did an upgrade during the weekend to fix the glitches, and guess what? They were not fixed. And most of the people now are starting to wake up and realize, what is this Obamacare? Why is it so expensive? Why are my premiums so high? Why is my deductible so high? I'm getting penalized if I don't want it. Everyone is starting to realize what this is. And you have to really think about it. All those people who opt out of it, and they say, since you opted out, you are penalized. Whatever, I think there was a Facebook thing that was done. A person that had type 1 diabetes was on there, and they were fined like $4,000 or so. And we can see what is happening, because if you take 100 million people all opting out, all this goes to government revenue, and you can see why they're doing it. And even if you don't go to the exchanges and you just don't even do it, you are still penalized with a tax. The first year, I think it's $95 or 1% of your gross income. The second year, it goes up to $395 or 2%, and then after that, it is $695 per person or 2.5% of your gross income, whichever is more. And you'll be paying this, and you can see what they're trying to do. And you have to remember, Common Core is also a federally put together education plan, no longer community state oriented. The federal government will control what each school receives in the way of educational materials. And we have to remember, and we have to see what they're trying to do. They're trying to have a complete and utter control over the system. Now, we know the central bankers and the U.S. government need to get this war started because they understand a collapse is coming. It's inevitable. They know it's here. They know they cannot keep the dollar propped up because their plan was to get into Syria, then move into Iran, and that plan did not work out. So they need to get another war started someplace else. So now they're starting to provoke North Korea again. They did this in World War II with Japan. They are now doing it with North Korea. And of course, we know Japan struck Pearl Harbor. And what they're doing is they move forces very close to North Korea, and they hope and they continually provoke North Korea in hoping that they make a move where they can start something here. And you saw this in Reuters today, saying that North Korea said on Tuesday its military would be put on high alert and be ready to launch operations, stepping up tensions after weeks of rhetoric directed against the United States and South Korea, who it accuses of instigating hostilities. And this is the tactic of the U.S. government and central bankers. They like to push, and hope that they do something because they want a war and they want it started now. And this is not the only place that they're trying to get a war started. They are still going after Iran. And we have to remember the U.S. has a treaty with Israel. If Israel gets into a war with Iran, guess who is there to back them up? And that is the U.S. central bankers, which will enable them to get into Iran. And right now, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said that he is moving closer to ordering airstrikes on Iran. And he's saying that he's out there saying that Iran is heading toward a nuclear weapon, and they are going to have it very soon, and they need to strike before this happens. And this is another propaganda technique to get the war started, because they know that if Israel fires a missile and Iran fires back, the U.S. will get involved and there will be a war, and it will start. And this goes on to say that Netanyahu's warning it will not be able to respond with surprise when Israel attacks Iran's nuclear sites. And he said this on October 7th, that after all this time, it is time now to stop Iran from developing these type of weapons. And again, we have to look back 25 years. Israel has been out there, and pretty much every year or every other year, they've been saying that Iran was 3 to 5 years out from making the bomb. And this goes all the way back, I think, to 1987 or something like that, all the way forward. I said this in one of my reports. I had it all listed out, that each time they told us they were 3 to 5 months out, 3 to 5 months out, and already here we are in 2013. It has been so long now, they still do not have a bomb. But why do they want to get in there? Well, we know the reason. Iran is selling their oil, not using the US dollar as the reserve currency. And the central bankers, U.S. government, had a plan to get into all these Middle Eastern countries, put them on the U.S. dollar as the reserve currency, control them to keep the dollar propped up, and Syria and Iran are the last two on the list. And he just went further on to say that that Israel has acquired the military platforms to attack Iran. They include F-15 and F-16 fighter jets, refueling aircraft, Jericho intermediate-range ballistic missiles, and electronic warfare systems, and they have the ability and the readiness to attack Iran whenever they need to. Now, Russia, they understand that the central bankers, U.S. government, are not going to stop. Yes, temporarily right now, there's a hold on the Syria chemical weapon war that was going to happen, but Russia understands that the central bankers will not give up. They will continue to push until there is a war started. Russia now is increasing their annual spending on nuclear weapons by more than 50%. And they are going to create more advanced nuclear weapons, and they're in the midst of the biggest rearmament drive for a generation, part of a massive overhaul of the forces, including a move toward all professional services. And we see this in many other countries. We see this in Japan, where they want to change Article 9, and they do not want to be a pacifist nation. They want to strike when they need to strike. They also just christened the largest warship since World War II. We see India with their submarine and their new warship, and we see many other countries working on drills with the U.S. to prepare for what is coming. The U.S. is also setting up missile bases in Romania on the east coast of the U.S. They are setting up bases which encircle China, and they are setting this all up. And they also have an agreement with Australia, which I mentioned yesterday, that if something happens and war breaks out with China, the Northern Australian forces are ready to strike and go. Now, there is a report, and it's about al-Qassam, and we know we haven't heard from them in a while, and this is on the Bank Info Security of American Bankers Association. Bill Nelson has reported that even though we have not heard from al-Qassam and there's been a lull, we should not think that they're not going to attack at this point. And they are saying that this is an ongoing threat, and any day they could attack, because we've seen many, many attacks in the past from them, doing a lot of DDoS attacks against financial institutions. And what they're saying is that this group from Iran could attack the financial institutions and could team up with the Syrian Electronic Army, and both work to attack the financial institutions. And what they're saying here is what they've learned is that the al-Qassam has become more sophisticated and has the ability now not just to do a DDoS attack, but has the ability to actually go into the accounts, and it has the ability to bring down the systems and crash the systems. And this is something they haven't seen in last year and leading up to this year, but they see they are becoming more advanced with their strikes, and this is something to worry about. Now, as the title of my report says, we are seeing many false flag drills happen within a 6-week period. And what we're seeing now is, we understand, coming up this weekend, I think it's October 11th, the truckers are going to roll into D.C., and this is the Truckers for the Constitution, and they are going to have a three-day strike. There will be no deliveries to stores at this time, and they're going to park right outside of D.C. right here and really block everything. But during this time period, we also hear that veterans now are going to march at the same time on D.C., and the bikers are coming back to march on D.C. So we're seeing that all of these groups are now starting to descend on D.C., and we know that the shutdown is still going on. We saw what happened with that woman in D.C., and everyone, the loudspeaker systems come on and telling people to stay in their house. Police officers were getting ready. There was a drill going on at the same time. But again, the reaction of the police to shoot first, ask questions later, is absolutely horrifying and unbelievable, that no one is out there screaming on the top of their lungs, especially on the news, our government officials, that we just went ahead and killed a person. I mean, the police have other devices and weapons that they could have used. They have a taser gun. They could have shot out the woman's tires. So there were many things that were happening at that time. But what I took away from this, and that what happened to that woman is absolutely, unbelievably uncalled for. And if this happened 30 years ago, there'd be protests. There'd be people on the streets demanding people get fired, put in jail for what has happened. And we are not seeing this whatsoever. But what we did see is that they were able to keep everyone under control, locked in their homes. We saw the police take control. We saw the Congress be ushered off into different areas, and we can see that there are many protests that are going to happen coming up this weekend, and this could have been a complete drill for what is coming. Now, Anonymous is also going to march on D.C., and this is going to happen on November 5th. And we're seeing this a lot. And there's also another march where he wants everyone to come down to ask for Obama's resignation. I mentioned this on my other report. So we're seeing a lot of protesting happening in the D.C. area between October and November. And I just want to step back for a second, because we understand that there are many drills that are occurring in the 6-week period. And we have to step back and remember that the whole point of this is to blame this on a country where they can get this war started and to blame the collapse on. So what has taken place in the last couple of weeks? Well, in Iran, the head of their cyber defense was assassinated. There were 4 men trying to sabotage Iran's nuclear program. They were caught. We see now that the U.S. did some raids in Libya and Somalia, and they captured an al-Qaeda leader, and he is now on the ship of on the Navy ship. I think it's the San Antonio in the Mediterranean, being questioned. The people in Libya are outraged. Al-Qaeda is looking to strike revenge for this type of act. They're saying it's an eye for an eye, that will kidnap Americans, we will down your planes, and all these other things. So we can see how this is all leading up to what they want to happen. The U.S. also moved Marines into Italy, which is right across from Libya, across the Mediterranean, and they moved their special forces into this area, and just in case something breaks out and they need to go to war. And we can see what is happening at this period in time. They are creating this atmosphere of terror. They are creating this atmosphere that this shutdown is making the economy decline. They are creating this atmosphere that something is going to happen. And from this shutdown, the U.S. Nuclear Regulatory Commission is about to stop operating. The funds are going to run out this week, and they will not be able to monitor the nuclear reactors. And this goes on to say the federal shutdown is about to hit those who keep an eye on the nation's 100 commercial nuclear power plants. Nuclear industry watchdogs said the furloughs were cause for concern, and people are worried about this. So we can see, as we look down, more and more things are starting to happen. We also had Janet Napolitano out there saying that it's not if, but it's when a cyber attack happens. Leon Panetta was out there saying we are ready to, we are on the cusp of receiving a cyber Pearl Harbor or a virtual 911, and that the U.S. government, because of the shutdown, doesn't have the ability to work with companies to protect themselves against this type of cyber attack. But with the Nuclear Regulatory Commission out on furloughs and not able to do their job, you can see how a cyber attack of some sort could hit one of these areas. Now we also see that there's an urban shield drill going on, and this is happening from October 25th to October 28th. And this goes on to say that the Urban Shield 2013, a planned training exercise involving local, national, and international first responder agencies. This event begins October 25th and ends Monday, October 28th. This is a 48-hour exercise, and will be managed utilizing the National Incident Management System. And they are doing many different things. They're doing a hazardous materials team, which will participate. They're doing a rescue team, which will help. And this is for, the rescue team is for building collapses and trench rescue. The hazardous team is for a nuclear type of spill or a chemical type of spill or a pandemic type of scenario. And this is planned, and we see this is just another drill added to another list of all these drills that are happening at this point in time. Now, on the Common Sense show, Dave Hodges has reported that he's making the case that Chicago is ripe for the next false flag event. And he goes on to say here that we have to remember that there are missing arms. Thousands of Stinger missiles have fallen into the hands of al-Qaeda. They were stolen in Libya. Who knows where they're being transported to? The potential attack upon Chicago has already been rehearsed at the NATO summit held in South Chicago in late May 2012. In which preparations for disaster planning and the beta test for the implementation of martial law in case of some provoked event was instituted and coincided with a previously held NATO summit. And Chicago is also strengthened by the fact that communities surrounding Chicago are storing supplies which are strongly suggestive of a coming mass casualty event. An inside source reveals FEMA and DHS are preparing mass graves and martial law near Chicago. Rahm Emanuel left a high cabinet position to take a job as mayor of Chicago, and he is the perfect person to keep control of the media and everything that flows in and out of Chicago, and he will be able to facilitate a false flag attack in this area. And he's saying that Chicago right now is completely ripe and ready to go. And he's saying that this is just one of the areas. And like him, I do believe that this will happen in many different areas, but he's making the case for Chicago. But we also have to remember FEMA Region 3, FEMA Region 4, which is included in the October 17th National Earthquake FEMA drill. We also understand that FEMA purchased orders of 14.2 million MREs and heater meals to be delivered. We also understand there's 22 million pouches of emergency water and 13.6 million, there's also 11 million in antibiotics to be delivered in FEMA Region 3. So we can see that something is definitely happening. The senator was out there explaining this also, and we see this from all the other things that we see. We also have the 1,000 bank cyber attack drill, and it goes on and on and on all the way down to the power grid drill. And we also understand that the UK is having a cyber attack drill in November. So we do have many things happening during this period. It will create a lot of confusion. People will not understand what is going on. This is the perfect environment to have a multiple false flag event to occur. And like I said yesterday, those people who still have money in the bank, who are afraid to take their money out of the bank, I would be making a printout every single day, because this will be your only proof, depending on what happens. Those people who have not prepared with food, water, supplies like lights, batteries, things like that, medical supplies, if you're a diabetic, if you have a heart condition, things like that. If you need extra medicine, I would get it, because we are heading down the path through this fall and winter, and they are already setting the stage for something to occur. And I just want to make sure that everyone is prepared and ready for whatever happens, because when the lights go out, it will be too late. You will not have time to do anything. And this is something you do not want to happen. I rather have people stock up on food, water, supplies, and nothing happens. And guess what? You didn't waste any money. You just use the supplies you have. Or you keep them and you stockpile more because the event has just not occurred. So no matter what you do, prepping is a win-win situation. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.